All right. So I want to start, we call it boosting immunity naturally. And that's what we do here. This is a health food store. We're not talking about drugs, pharmaceutical products, whatever you're thinking of using. We're just talking about supplements. We want to talk about the factors of healthy immunity: lifestyle, nutrition, exercise, sleep, supplementation, we'll talk a lot about that, stress management, very important, and proper health care. Now, not everybody goes to the doctor, but you know, the medical community has all kinds of wonderful tests. We do tests like that here. We have a great staff, and we do a lot of unusual testing that could really give you some good information. But we have a whole lot of other professionals here that can help you with things. And you know, this is a great group. We have our people out front, we have people in the back, and we're here to help you. So don't be afraid to ask questions, and we'll get to any questions you might have as we go. I just want to talk about my theory. I call it the Swiss cheese theory of immunity. All right, so the holes in the Swiss cheese are the holes in your immune system. Your immune system isn't like a wall or a block of cheddar cheese. It's Swiss cheese. Everybody has holes in their immunity. There's no such thing as a perfect immunity. Things will get through. And you know, when many of us were little, we didn't have as many vaccines. We got measles, chickenpox, mumps. And they're interesting in and of themselves, because once you get them, you don't get them again usually. So you get a kind of immunity from it. But not all viruses are that way. You can get a virus over and over and over and over. It just, no immunity, no herd immunity, no personal immunity. So how do you protect yourself? And that's what we'll look at. So this is kind of how immunity works. And we have a lot of things in our system, in our cells, that help protect us. If we didn't, we wouldn't survive on Earth 5 minutes. I mean, you'd pick up something immediately. And there's bacteria everywhere. They're inside of you, they're outside of you, they're on your skin. And we live and interact with these bacteria, viruses, fungus. It's all around us. So this is a little complicated, but I like the slide because it breaks it down for us here. And it says the immune system can be categorized with lymphocytes, which are T cells, B cells, and natural killer cells, neutrophils, monocytes, and macrophages. Now, macrophages, everybody should be familiar. That's when something gets in your upper respiratory, your nose, your sinuses, mucus starts to envelop and get in there, and it wraps around these things and tries to get them out of your body. So it's a protective mechanism. So macrophage is the first line of defense. Then as you step back a little bit, you go a little deeper, kind of the other way. They should have been listed the other way around. Your lymphocytes, T cells, B cells, natural killer cells, they're further back in the army, so to speak. They're there for when things get really bad. And natural killer cells, you know, could be against cancer, could be against a whole lot of things. The problem is that, like the Swiss cheese, there's holes in these defenses, and there are some things that slip through. And we know one of them from 2 years of all the problems we've been having. It slips through. Some of them are proteins, but they're in the cells. Now, you have bacteria, you have viruses. And they're similar, and yet they're different. They are wrapped in a membrane, and the membrane is some kind of a fatty phospholipid membrane usually. Now, in the drug world, when they're making pharmaceuticals, antibiotics to attack the bacteria, they want to puncture that membrane. And that is kind of the theory even with viruses. You want to attack that membrane, but it's a lot harder on the viral side. The amount of things that you're up against are considerable. On the bacteria side, although there's 110 strep, everybody's heard of strep, right? Strep throat. There's 110, I believe, last count, of strep species. It's not just one. Fortunately, one antibiotic or 2 or 3 antibiotics seem to kill them all. Usually the penicillin family antibiotics. But in viruses, that may not be the case. In fact, I know it's not the case. And there's a lot of things we just can't figure out how to attack a virus. So a little easier on the bacteria side, but don't forget, people all over the world are dying from bacteria every day. I mean, it's one of the major killer things. Infection, particularly pneumonia. Big killer. There's a viral pneumonia also, so you have to deal with that. Well, how do we start getting the immune system in healthier shape? And you could be pretty sick, but if you do the right things, your system will start to come around. And we talk about sleep, exercise, fresh air, clean water, nutrition, isn't that important, obviously? And your habits. All right, now, we're not the same people we were 100 years ago. We eat differently. Our habits are different. We're not the same people we were 10,000 years ago when we were cavemen. So a lot of things have changed, but one thing that is fairly constant is us. The world around us might be changing, but we're not really changing. So we've impacted on our immune systems, maybe in not such a healthy way. Now, if we look at nutrition, which I think is one of the more important things that you do on a daily basis, you have to have a balanced diet. That's usually the right way to go. Even cavemen had a relatively balanced diet, except during times of, like winter, there might be a shortage of things, so they maybe only ate meat during that time. They couldn't find vegetable-based things, berries, that type of thing. But for the most part, there's no excuse for us. We should be able to have 40% carbohydrate, 30% fat, 30% protein. You might adjust your diet, as you can see, adjustable. Maybe we need weight management. When you see avoid sugar, the best you can. There's obviously sugars in vegetables. It's not so bad. But if you're piling extra sugar on things, drinking coffee with two teaspoons of sugar, you're impacting your immune system. So sugar's an issue. Consider supplements, particularly if you are ill or you have been sick. Supplements can help bridge that and move you forward. Avoid foods that inflame, obviously mostly the sugar-based foods, carbohydrates, and stay hydrated. I can't think of too many, other than kidney disease, there aren't too many things where water isn't helpful. And even with kidney disease, you may restrict water intake, but you still have to have water. If you look at a caveman, their lifestyle, the men go out and hunt all day. I guess the women are back at the cave, skinning bears and whatever they're doing, and making clothing. But they are working from the time the sun comes up to the time the sun goes down. Now, I would find it hard to believe that they weren't sleeping well. All right, they're working hard, they're working all day. We know from the bones that we find of people 10, 12, 60,000 years ago that they carried a lot of muscle. They were very muscular compared to us because they worked really hard. Did a lot of physical things. They weren't in the cave on the computer. So they were fit, and that fitness kept them alive. We wouldn't be here today if they weren't doing something right. So they had their immune systems cranked up to a pretty good peak, considering there was no medicine and no way to cure anything. They survived. Now, in our world today, how much exercise is enough? You have to look at exercise in, what are you about? If you're 90 years old, your exercise potential or the amount you need might be a lot lower than someone who's 20 years old. And a 20-year-old may want to run and jog. Well, a 90-year-old might not want to do that. So you've got to adjust your exercise, but muscle mass is a real key. You've got to have muscle mass. Now that word sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is a condition when your muscle and fat mass, fat mass, start to get too close. And sometimes they go the other way. When you get to about 33% body fat, it's kind of the beginning of sarcopenia. And I've seen people, we measure people, I have a unit and I can measure your body fat, your muscle mass. And I have people who, well, the highest one I've ever had was 52% fat. That's more than half of your body in fat. Now, that body fat isn't really helping you, and it's probably hurting you. It's hard to say how much it's hurting you. It's good. It's individualized, but it's not going to be good. And we know just from the statistics that over 33% body fat, when you hit that number, that's when you start to see the chronic illnesses and autoimmune conditions and all the conditions that you got to worry about. It's a bad number. Now, it's not to say somebody with an 18% body fat doesn't get cancer one day. It does happen. We don't know why. They're exposed to something. They have a genetic thing. That can happen. But the general statistics, when we talk about averages, tell us that 33% or more body fat is a bad health point. And that if we can avoid that, it would be very important. So you get hurt, you can't walk, suddenly you start to gain weight. So it's a problem, and you have to think about that. You might have to adjust diet to try to keep yourself good until you can walk again, or until you can exercise. You've just got to play this to your benefit. The benefits of exercise really are all over the place. Number one, the more you exercise, the better you sleep. You know, you just can't sit in a chair and watch TV and hope you're going to sleep well. It just doesn't happen. Go back to that caveman theory. You got to work all day if you really want to sleep well. You've got to do physical work. And we don't, today it's a new era. We don't do a lot of physical work. In a couple of years, I guess we'll have robots doing all our physical work, right? We won't even drive the car. So, it'll be automatic. And so you're outdoors, you're getting light, you're sleeping well. Well, right away, you're improving your immune system. You're exercising, you're getting rid of body fat, you're increasing muscle mass. Muscle mass is so important because it burns more calories than the body fat. It's burning your sugar, your carbohydrates off in a more appropriate way. You're less likely to have a diabetic situation, type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is not part of this conversation. We're talking about as we age, less muscle means we don't burn our carbohydrates as well, and we can develop type 2 diabetes. So very, very important. Any questions so far? All right, sleep. Well, we already talked a little about sleep. So why do we sleep? If you listen to and read books on sleep, sometimes they'll actually get to the point that we're not sure why or how we sleep. We actually don't know how we sleep. We don't know what actually puts us to sleep, kind of vague, but we know we have to sleep. And without it, things go bad very quickly. Mentally, emotionally, things start to go out of whack. Health-wise, things aren't as good. If you read all the theories on sleep, sleep seems to heal things in our body and in our brain. So we tend to function better if we have sleep. People that are sleep deprived, sleep deprivation is used in prison camps to wear down prisoners. It's something that can be, quite devastating to the brain. So we need to sleep. When do we sleep? Well, go back to the caveman. They woke up when the sun came up, and they pretty much gave it up when the sun went down. It's part of that light-dark cycle. better to be awake when the sun is out, and it's better to be, you should be sleeping when it's dark. Now, how many hours? I don't know if we put that there. How much? Yes. How many hours a day? It really depends on you. I was looking at mine this week because I was thinking about this, and I think I sleep 7.5 hours a night on average. I was trying to record it. And that's perfectly adequate. In fact, maybe even 6 hours could be okay for some people. Under 6 starts to get a little questionable. Some people will handle it better than others. Some people need 9 hours of sleep a day, and that's okay. I mean, that may be what you need. On the other hand, occasionally you'll find in the elderly, maybe they sleep extended hours. That's a sign of something else. That could be a health issue. It could be that if you don't sleep, that's another problem we'll be talking about here in a little bit. Anxiety and stress. One of the key things that I look for is, I fall asleep but I wake up at 3 in the morning. That's a strong indication of anxiety. And I have a lot of retired people that say, how can that be anxiety? I don't do anything, I don't have any problems. People just don't understand. After years and years of being hammered every day for this and that, you kind of can build up an ongoing anxiety. And you don't just, I retired and I retired my anxiety with it. That's not how it works. You just very often could carry that through. So keep that in mind. Now, what kind of help can you get? Well, there are sleep centers. When I was at Abington Hospital, my office was directly under the sleep center. And because we were a psychiatric unit, we sent a lot of people to the sleep center, and I got to see their studies. And I can tell you that sometimes, although people might think they're sleeping, they may not be. So it's quality of sleep. Some people just don't sleep very well at all. A lot of dreams wake them up, that kind of thing. It can be very exhausting. So sleep centers are important if you're really having a sleep problem. They at least identify. They don't always fix your problem. Now, you could, doctors like to give you prescription drugs for sleep because they don't know what else to do. You can understand it. They can't come home with you, evaluate. They can't do it. That's why we have the sleep centers. So they like to give prescriptions for sleep. They can be very addictive, and they can throw your sleep cycle out. And when you try to get off of them, you get rebound wakefulness. Something people come in all the time and say, I can't sleep. I just got, after 10 years of Xanax, I stopped and I don't sleep at all now. Well, that's rebound. You have to overcome that. Benadryl. A lot of people use Benadryl to sleep. And actually, Benadryl might be the bridge to get you out of prescription drugs and maybe into a healthier sleep pattern. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, it can be a long shot in many cases. Benadryl, if I spent a lot of time in my earlier career working in Bucks County's nursing homes. And one thing I noticed, because I had access to the files and I could see what prescriptions they were taking, is that everybody in the nursing home sometimes got Benadryl at bedtime. Of course, now we've discovered that Benadryl causes cognitive dysfunction. And what did you see at a nursing home back then? Everybody was sitting in a chair like this. And it's because they were over-medicated, and the Benadryl may have been causing some problems. So you'll see the ads on TV for non-sedating antihistamines. Benadryl is an antihistamine. It's a good one. If you get a bunch of bee stings, you load up with Benadryl, it may save you from really having some issues. But it's very sedating. So they're selling on TV non-sedating antihistamines. And that doesn't mean that it still doesn't cause some cognitive dysfunction. So these are products you probably want to use carefully. You don't want to be using it all the time. You don't want to be using it as your sleep product. Which brings us to melatonin, which may be the most famous product in the store for sleep. the most famous product in supplementation circles for sleep. And as bad as prescriptions and Benadryl could be, I think melatonin is the exact opposite. It's not only good for sleep, but it builds your immune system. And there are cancer studies where they use melatonin because it's helpful for the immune system of the cancer patient. So, and it mimics real sleep. You take a melatonin during the day, you probably won't get sleepy. It seems to need darkness. Take it at bedtime, you might go to sleep. Now, melatonin is just one product. In fact, here's a good time to do this. Quite a few sleep products that are very good. A very famous old line one is L-tryptophan. It comes from the amino acid group of products. There was some bad publicity about tryptophan years ago, but it was a very minor thing blown out of proportion. And when I say blown out of proportion, all you have to do is look at Abbott and the baby formula product line. Now, what's going on with baby formula? That's a disaster. What happened with tryptophan was they found a couple contaminated bottles. They overreacted, took it off the market. They're not going to take baby formula off the market. They're going to clean that plant up. They're going to find out what the bacteria or whatever it is that got into that formula. They're going to clean it. They're going to fix it. They're going to be more appropriate with it. And they'll get it right. But it's going to be a problem. So it's a big problem. That's a bottle of melatonin. Just plain melatonin. It works great. Melatonin usually works best under the tongue, chewing, because you absorb it quicker. It'll work in the stomach also. There's combination. Well, this is valerian. Now, valerian is an herb. If you take enough valerian, it just knocks you cold. And I remember, forget what company I was with. I spent 20 years in pharmacology. And we were researching some sleep issue. Either it was a study or a product. And we noticed that there were some studies on valerian. And we looked at valerian, we realized it mimics benzodiazepines in the way it works. It's not addictive, but it really can knock you down. And if you want to stick with an herbal product that will make you sleep like a tryptophan, valerian will also. And I can't say there's a lot of health benefits other than it makes you sleep and you feel better. The argument with taking too much of the would be possibly you feel a little hungover in the morning. So you reduce your dose a little bit. This is a combination sleep product. Probably has valerian and some other herbs and a little melatonin possibly. There's lots of products like that. This is a kind of a new product. It's called Sleep by Solgar. It's a whole new line of products they have. This was the first sleep product that they brought out, I guess about a year ago, a little over a year ago. And I saw it and I thought, wow, it's a time-release capsule. And they use the layered technology with a type of seal on it. So when you take it, you're going to get more than the standard melatonin sleep cycle. You're going to get extra time. Can't break it in half because you violate the way it's made, the composition. So it's just you take it half an hour before bedtime, and it works pretty well. So we have some great products that aren't just going to put you to sleep, but they're actually going to improve your health. They actually have some great benefits. So that's kind of a look at sleep. Let's go to the next. All right, this is a good time to go ahead and we're going to go through a lot of the supplements. So when we talk about multivitamins, we're talking about your nutritional weak spots. And we're going to fill them with a multivitamin. It's not to cure anything. It's not necessarily going to make you jump up in the morning and say, wow, I feel great. It might, because I have seen that happen. But really, we're filling nutritional deficits. And I think that's I may have, let's see. We have 2 good ones from Life Extension. We have some whole food ones from Country Life, Mega Foods, and New Chapter. It's just some great multivitamins out there. If you need help with a multivitamin, anyone can help you here with a multivitamin. Special needs and health issues. That's when we become your friend in this group, and we try to steer you, and you say, well, you know, I have this problem, I have allergies. This is a brand new one from Terry Naturally. And it's a 2 a day, but it is a very unique, well done, brand new multivitamin. Just a great one. This is an old reliable. It's got everything you need. This is the 2 a day. They make a 1 a day. Simple multivitamins. Very effective, very helpful. Then all of a sudden you've got special issues. Maybe you have a compromised immune system. Maybe you're just getting colds every month. Something's going on. So there's a whole bunch of ways to address that. And of course, it's all about building your immune system. Let's just say you are having colds all the time. Some excellent ways you can go about fixing that. This is a monolaurin product called lauricidin. These are little pellets. You can hear them? And you take a spoonful of them and just swallow them down. Monolaurin is a wonderful antiviral. And another antiviral, we sell it all the time at the store, is L-lysine, an amino acid. Monolaurin comes from coconut. Very unique product. L-lysine, just because it's an amino acid that just prevents viruses from hurting you. Now this, I'm showing you a combination product, and for good reason. This is Herpanicin. Herpanicin is actually a local company. I think their offices are in Jenkintown. And I've been a fan of this product probably for about 15 years. So it uses lysine, 1,500 milligrams a day. It's a high dose of lysine. But it has other products in it that are very immune supportive. And I learned about this product, well, in the beginning I started using it because I had a bunch of young people, and you use it with a probiotic, which we'll talk about in a minute, for acne. But little did I know that I'd start thinking this over a little more, and I had a lot of people with shingles. So shingles comes from when we had chickenpox as kids. We get that chickenpox virus in us. We won't get chickenpox again, but we might get shingles. And it's a very painful, uncomfortable effects type of infection. A little vitamin A. We all know vitamin A is very important for the immune system. Vitamin E, also good for the immune system. There's a little calcium in here, that's just stability. This is like 25 milligrams. Selenium and zinc. We know that to be good for the immune system. I picked this because it kind of hits the important vitamins that you need for your immune system. All right, then they have a blend of lysine, astragalus, dandelion, sarsaparilla, echinacea. I mean, it really is an herbal amino acid vitamin. It's a real combination product. But, you know, even if you don't buy this product, you look at the label and you know exactly what works for your immune system. We talked about Benadryl earlier and antihistamines. This product, quercetin, is an amazing product. A lot of people think of it as a product for leaky gut because it does make the lining of the gut healthier. It shrinks the little holes in the lining of the gut, the permeability, prevents large things from going through and causing an inflammatory response. But quercetin is basically just like an antihistamine, that it competes for the histaminic sites. And they usually call those sites H1, H2, H3, Zantac, Pepsid. Those things go for the H3 site, I believe, or they're H2 blockers. So they go for the H2 sites. This goes for a lot more, mostly H1 sites, H3 sites, and some H2 sites. Binds the site so that something foreign can't get in it. So this is ideal for an antiviral. And just so you know, they put it in their immune pack. This is a great little pack, by the way, because I think this and this might be the same price. So it's a pretty good combination. So what they have in here is vitamin C. What else is good for the immune system if not vitamin C? Great thing. This is vitamin D. If you have low vitamin D, you're probably going to have more holes in your Swiss cheese than you'd like. All right, it's going to be you're going to have a weak immune system. So having good D levels is important. So they put D in there. They use their absolute best quercetin. This is the best quercetin on the market that I can find. And
What company is it by?
This is by it's Natural Factors.
Oh, okay.
Great company, Canadian company. And zinc. So this pack is kind of fun. If you say, I don't know what to take, grab one of those and start with that. And then refine it as you go. This is another one. This is more of an herbal approach. Now, I'm a big fan and user of this. I'll probably drink a whole bottle today after this. All right. So it comes in a capsule, and it's a liquid in a gel cap. This might not be to everybody's taste, but I like it. It's kind of a nice product. It's called Anti-V from Natural Factors. Very effective product.
Anti-V.
Yeah, Anti-V for virus.
Oh, okay.
And you could say it's for virus, but really could be for anything. And if you even feel sick at all, you start using this like every 2 or 3 hours for the first day, and usually you can fight off whatever's going on. I've done it many times, especially working here. When you work retail, you're exposed to everybody. When I worked at the hospital, it was even worse. So that's a great all-in-one kind of a product. Now, they have a special echinacea in there, astragalus, licorice. They've got a good herbal blend that's going to work on your immune system. Now, I have this product, NAC. Everybody know NAC?
Yes.
You've seen it?
Really good, yeah.
NAC, anything lung, I immediately think NAC. If you've had pneumonia, you're not getting over it. If you've had COVID and you've still got lung symptoms, this is the perfect product for that. But this goes deeper than that. This cleans up the cellular debris of your illness. If you've been ill, you'll want to be on this for about 6 months. Clean your system up. Make yourself healthier. I'm putting it in the simplest terms. It's real complicated. But that's what you're doing. You're improving your cellular condition by getting rid of cellular debris. NAC stands for N-acetylcysteine. Nobody wants to say that, I guess, so it became NAC.
And what's the concentration?
Well, this one happens to be, well, this is a 500, which is what most of them are. We do have one up front. Designs for Health, I believe, is a 900. So that could be a 1 a day NAC, or if you're really sick, could be a 2 a day. So that would be for something, the supplements that are more specific is for a more specific situation. And lots of people come in here and tell me, I get 5, 6 colds every winter. You know, I've been there. I've had that. I worked in a situation in the mental health nursing homes where you're exposed to stuff all day long, and you start to get colds more regularly. What do you do? So hopefully you know, if I knew now what I wish I knew then what I know now, I'd be using this all day long. I mean, there's just, how else to protect yourself? Medicine doesn't have anything for viruses. You get a cold, right? It'll be over in 10 days or whatever it takes. So how do you, can you speed it up? Yes, you can. You know, extra vitamin C, one of these products, quercetin. If I was a teacher or a medical person in today's environment, I'd either be taking 1,000 milligrams of lysine every day. I might be taking one of these every morning before I go to work. I might use this, but I would be doing something because I don't want to catch what everybody's passing around. And as you can see, some things are more easy to catch than others. And we talk about Omicron. It is really transferable very easily. And I don't know if anybody has told us why, but it seems to be very transferable. The monkeypox, something new, that's been around forever, but we don't hear about it because it's just not real common in the Western Hemisphere, that type of thing. Not very transferable. At least it hasn't been. That's been the nature. And that's why we haven't seen monkeypox breakouts, in different places. So let's hope it stays that way. None of us want monkeypox. It doesn't sound good. Or any pox, right. So down in the front, we have professional products that we professionals have down there with us, and they have to be kept out of the retail vein. Can't be on the retail shelves. So we keep them out of sight down there. This happens to be one of them. Standard Process is another one. So there's even more product than you see on the floor. Things aren't going well for you, talk to us and we can look at something else possibly. You see up there amino acid therapy. So tryptophan, amino acid. Lysine, amino acid. NAC, amino acid. So there's all types of treatments that amino acids have some specific things that they handle. So there are amino acids that are antiviral. There are amino acids that are detoxing. That's basically what NAC is doing. It's detoxing. L-carnitine, another amino acid, helps the heart pump a little stronger. So there's very specific things in amino acid therapy that can help you. If you've got poor health, there's always a supplement that can help you. We can't cure disease. We're not allowed to say that. But if we can improve your condition with a supplement, why not do it? They're not expensive, and you feel better as a result. So we're talking about probiotics. Now, there's so many different probiotics. You just got to get some advice when you're picking one if you're having problems. If you're having excessive gas and bloating after eating, you may actually have a condition of bacteria buildup that's fermenting and creating methane and hydrogen, which makes you feel bloated. And we've discovered, we haven't had this product that long, but this is a product that kills that bacteria. In this product are 4 viruses. I mean, this is so unique. Pharmaceutical people haven't even thought of this one. 4 viruses that kill gram-negative bacteria. That's usually what colonizes the gut. In about a month, you will see improvement if you use this product. So it's a kind of a unique product. You use it for that condition. You would use this for if you had food poisoning. It's the same bacteria that might infect your gut. So very unique product. GI Restore by Life Extension. There's only 2 companies that make this, and we carry the other one in the refrigerator. This one is non-refrigerated version. And when I say there's 4 viruses, they're engineered to kill whatever that bad bacteria is. And just let me go over a few points here. You want to feed your microbiome. The best food for microbiome is dead bad bacteria. So they eat it and they like it and it cleans up the gut, and it makes a lot of sense. That's why you hear this. So basically those dead bacteria are going to be called prebiotics. You've heard that term? Yeah. Prebiotics are usually just fiber when you look at these products. There may be a product here with inulin or FOS, some kind of fiber, and that acts as a prebiotic. But the best prebiotic are dead bad bacteria. This is a new line. This is a chewable gummy probiotic. So anybody, no matter whether you can swallow or not, can be taking probiotics. And when you build a microbiome, you build a healthier person. you're becoming healthier and healthier. So microbes such as bacteria, fungi, virus, and other types of bacteria naturally live in our food, whatever it might be. We're constantly inundated. If we don't have our healthy bacteria in a good position to balance out the bad ones that we swallow, breathe in, we get in trouble. We can get sick. So when you get food poisoning, what happens is you get a massive amount of bad bacteria on a piece of food, and it overwhelms your immunity, your gut immunity. And you can use, some people will take charcoal and try to absorb that bad bacteria, but basically you got to repair the gut by building your microbiome back. This product has the potential to kill and rebuild your gut all in one. If I were coming through a health crisis, this is a fermented probiotic. It's a pretty amazing product. All food. Dr. O'Hara's probiotics. Amazing products. This is a good way to get healthy again if you've been sick. If you had some long-term condition. Very effective. If you go over to our probiotic section, you'll see a lot of probiotics. We have a good house brand. It's all about building our guts. The food we eat is building our guts, building our gut health, because it has fiber that's ingested by good bacteria, and we make our good bacteria healthier and healthier. So having a good diet is really important. If you're going to eat potato chips all the time, to fill up, you're not going to have a good microbiome. Yogurt has a broad spectrum of probiotics. Taking different yogurts or different probiotics with it are not going to interfere with it, they're going to add to it. So basically you're buying a probiotic, you're getting some good bacteria, you're helping your microbiome, and if you're still not where you want to be, you may have to add more probiotics. If you have, for instance, diarrhea all the time or loose bowels, it can help that. So stabilizing the gut and building that immunity is what probiotics are all about. So regulates the immune system, protects from disease-causing bacteria because it kills that bad bacteria, and produces vitamins. That's what's going on in your microbiome. That's where you produce most of your B12. And actually most B vitamins are produced there. So it's a very, very important thing. Will kefir be better than yogurt? No, I don't think we have a way of measuring that. If there is, I don't know about it. But, I grew up, my mother would make yogurt once a week. And I really enjoy plain yogurt. And never thinking that it was doing me any good, but I did start to like it. And I would eat it. And I had a great aunt who was quite a cook, but she would make flavored yogurts. And lemon, orange, lime, they were quite a treat. I mean, she did an amazing job. And she made it every week also. So I always loved going over to her house because she'd always give me a big bowl of her yogurt. And little did I know I was doing myself a favor. But we don't, if you go into the store and buy yogurt, you're not getting that yogurt. Even though,
Why aren't you getting that yogurt? What's the problem?
Well, it's manufactured. It doesn't have enough bacteria. Like I said, the only one you're going to see the bacteria listed, and many of them will be Fage total.
Spell
Fage. And you'll see it on, not a lot of people buy it because not a lot of people like plain yogurt. I just happen to be a person who likes plain yogurt, and I don't like low-fat yogurt, so I'm going to look for that one.
So the Stony Field that I buy, that's the brand I buy, that's plain and says probiotics on it, and it'll give you a count of whatever.
They do have a full
Yeah.
yogurt also, but I don't always see that.
Oh, I only buy that.
And I can't always find that one.
Okay.
You can't always find Fai total, so it's a little hard to find. Actually, making yogurt is not that hard.
One more thing to do, though.
It is one more thing to do. It takes a little time. Yeah. Healthy Trinity, which we've been selling for years, the very first, I think, probiotic on the market, they were yogurt makers, that family. And they took the cultures from their yogurt and actually made probiotics in capsules. So that's it's an amazing story. They brought these cultures from Bulgaria with them, and they created this company, and they did a wonderful job. And of course, we have Healthy Trinity in our refrigerator. It always has to be refrigerated, whereas some of these are stabilized. Any other questions about that?
What's a sufficient amount to take of the probiotic?
Okay, so that's up in the air.
Yeah.
You can sometimes, if you're not sick and you don't have any problem, if you take 3 billion every day, that may be plenty.
Is
But if
25 billion too much?
25, there can be too much.
Okay.
The Healthy Trinity people will tell you that. Sometimes you only take it every other day because there's a pretty bold probiotics. But you have to find out what your level is.
That's
But
true.
if you're not sick, you don't want to go overboard. You don't need the 50 billion, you don't need the 100 billion. Now, if you've got some problems, you just might. So you've got to experiment, and we're here to help you with that. So how do we strengthen our microbiome? We're going to kind of review this. Eat your vegetables, cut out sugar as much as possible. Processed foods are not helpful at all. Consume probiotics, this kind of idea, yogurt, kefir. Avoid antibiotics. That's an important one. When you take an antibiotic, it kills a lot in your gut, good and bad. That's how an antibiotic works. It can't target. So after you've taken antibiotics, you're susceptible to things. So it's a good idea to take probiotic and build your gut back up. And if you actually there's a condition or a bacteria, it's a gram-positive bacteria if I remember, C. difficile, Clostridium difficile. Now, there's a lot of Clostridium species. Some are good, well, none are good, but some are worse than others. Clostridium difficile will make you very, very sick. We sell a probiotic, it's called Saccharomyces boulardii. We have it in the store brand, I think we have it by now. And it's a patent, so you'll see the name on it, Saccharomyces boulardii. It's usually how it's labeled. That will actually stop C. difficile. So it's a very specific probiotic. You could use it every day, but it's really made for antibiotic illness, C. diff from antibiotics, or for people that have ongoing loose bowel conditions from one reason or another. This is a very helpful product. Now it's a very it's a yeast-based probiotic, a little different. Doesn't need refrigeration, travels well, and it will solve a lot of problems if you're having that kind of a problem. So probiotics quite a bit different. You know that we have needs. We have different probiotics. The food is the most important thing. Keep yourself balanced and healthy. Eat gut-friendly fermented foods. So the O'Hara's that I showed you, that's a fermented probiotic. Very unique. Eating fermented foods just seems to really help the gut get healthy. Don't underestimate the power of sauerkraut. It's good stuff. Cabbage in general.
Cabbage.
What was that brand? Of the fermented probiotics? What was
Yes,
the brand?
that's O'Hara's.
Okay.
Well, we get enough sleep, of course. Cut back on red meats. Red meats are good for you, but too much of it really doesn't help your gut very much. Remember, vegetables provide the fiber for the good bacteria to eat. That's your prebiotic. Stay fit, Exercise is so important for gut health. It just makes things move better. It's very important. Be selfish. Avoid stress. Stay healthy. You know, if you're not selfish about your health, what are you selfish about? You know, really, that's what you should be thinking about. Stress. This is a huge issue. Stress, 3 types of stress, basically: acute, episodic, chronic. So acute is, you know, someone died in your family, you're upset. And it might take you a little bit to get over it, but that's gone. Let's say you have a fender bender one day. It's not a good day. All right, I got the gas pump handle stuck in my filler tube the other day. Spent 20 minutes at Costco. They couldn't get it out. Well, that was very stressful because everybody's yelling at me and blowing their horns and the whole thing. That's an acute, stressful situation. Episodic, you could have, you know, every time you go over a bridge, you become real upset because you're afraid of it. Or every time you get in an elevator, you're a little nervous. That can be episodic. It could just be that every time, you know, you hit 11 o'clock at night, you become very anxious. It's episodic. Chronic. So someone with chronic stress, you know something's going on. They very often have elevated heart rate. Their breathing pattern is different. They'll breathe quickly or they'll sigh a lot. You can spot this if you look carefully. You'll find them sighing. You know, they'll do this over and over again while they're talking to you. This is someone that could be suffering from chronic stress. And chronic stress starts the inflammatory process throughout your body. And it does it through cytokines and all kinds of things, chemistry that's going on in your body. So don't underestimate stress. When I joined the practice at the hospital, which was a psychiatric practice, somebody handed me a book there, and the title of it, and they said, you got to read this book. We have it in our back room there, you know. It was something like 120 conditions caused by stress. And they're, what? You know, who counted that? Who has the free time? So I started reading, and I was totally fascinated on how stress, you know, can make arthritis worse, make cancer worse. And what is more stressful than having cancer? You know, that's going to add to the problem of the cancer. And if you don't control stress, you're in trouble. And if you're perfectly healthy and too much stress hits you, you might not be healthy after that. Yes?
Doctor, with those 3 stress-related items, would that have anything to do with claustrophobia?
Yes. So would any of those 3 things apply? And, you know, we're talking about phobias. Yeah, you could have phobias as a result of either acute or chronic or even episodic. All those things could cause phobias, certainly. Warning signs, this I like. Warning signs, symptoms of emotional stress. Yeah, I've heard this many times about heaviness in the chest. I feel like there's a weight on my chest. You hear that a lot if you work at a mental health care facility, as I have. When I see people here, I hear this. So it's not an unusual thing. Increased heart rate, I just mentioned that earlier. And sometimes chest pain. So I'm looking at heart rate often when I look at a person. And a lot of people, you know, men should be between 60 and 80 in their heart rate, resting heart rate. Women are usually 10 points higher, 70 to 90. And if they're in that area, I'm pretty happy. But I see lots of people that sit down, I rest them for 5 minutes, and they're pounding away at 100, 102, 103. What is going on? You know, that's like when I run. So you know they're under a lot of stress. If you can get that heart rate to come down, I actually had a patient, and I managed to bring her heart rate down after about 2 or 3 treatments. We were doing biofeedback treatments. And I brought her heart rate down. She was always in the 90s. Brought her down to maybe 73, 72. And she goes, what? You know, she said, how do you feel? And she says, I said, you know, you've relaxed. And she goes, I must never have relaxed before because I never felt like this. I think what happened was that she doesn't remember, because she's been like that for 20 years, didn't remember what it felt like to actually relax. And she felt pretty good. And I said, well, now we're going to train you to maintain that. You know, we're going to keep you there when you sit down. You're running around the block, you're not going to be, you know, 70 beats per minute or 60 beats per minute. But when you sit down to rest, your heart rate should come back down. If it doesn't, that's where we're talking about chronic stress. You're not responding appropriately to the condition. All right? When we rest, we're supposed to slow down. When we run around the block, we're supposed to be pounding away. But if you have too much stress going on, you don't respond appropriately. So we could have head, neck pain, headaches. Headaches are a giveaway of stress. They really are. Stomach aches, back aches. All these things can be very stress-based. You'll find people with a lot of stress, they can't get those shoulders down. And before you know it, they've got pain here, and it's all over the place. Clenching at night, tooth grinding, all those things create all kinds of pains and issues. Oh, there it is. Tooth grinding, jaw clenching, shortness of breath, sighing, panting, dizziness. That could be just from the way they breathe. Or they're just so confused and upset that they start to feel a little dizzy, what they think is dizziness. Feeling tired. Well, if you're under stress all day, you're going to feel pretty tired. Are you going to sleep well? Probably not. Anxious, depression. I didn't put on this slide panic attacks. You know, when you get really bad, you get a panic attack. Panic attack is hard to get out of, and once you start to get them, they become habitual. Your first one, you go, whoa, what was that? I don't ever want that again. 2 days later, here's another one. Now you're getting into a really bad cycle. I actually got my first job with Bucks County. While I'm being interviewed, the person, one of their employees, runs out of the building with a panic attack, never came back. And the boss looked at me and said, "You got the job." It's exactly how it happened. I'm there, what? When can you start? That's how I learned panic attack, from that person. And later she came back and actually described what she was going through. And fortunately I was going to grad school at College in New Jersey for psychology. And right away took a couple of courses that were very focused on anxiety and panic attack. And I was really surprised how involved it can be and how hard it can be to get out of it. Stress management, you know, you could do it on your own. You know, exercise, more sleep, sunlight, very, very important. Meditation, biofeedback, we do that here. I do the biofeedback. We have massage. I mean, all these things are going to help you. Music, yoga, all those things to distract you from the mess that you got yourself in. All right, may not be your fault. You know, bad things happen sometimes to good people. The healthcare system. You know, we have our complaints and all that, but they have a lot of good tests for you. So it's important to have a practitioner where you can get this testing done. Some of our testing here covers certain things, but there's a lot of good things that you can do out there. You know, you can get a lung x-ray and find out if you have a problem in your lungs, if you're having some kind of coughing or whatever. That's what the medical system does, and does it well. So you should be taking care of yourself and taking advantage of all the things that we have to offer. Now, any questions? I'm going to give you questions. And you have them, I have it in a handout. How can we strengthen the immune system? We just went over that. All right, do the right things, help yourself out. Don't sit in the house with the curtains drawn all day and do nothing. It's not going to help you. How do I know if my immune system's strong? You don't know that. And if you're showing signs of colds and illness.
Well, how about if you don't get cold or sicker?
Well, you might have a good immune system, but we don't have a good way to measure that. You know, that I put a little thing in here about if a bug bites you and you get a great big rash, that's your immune system working. If the bug bites you and nothing happens, it's hard to say. Is that a bad immune system? You just didn't react as much. But if you're reacting, that's your immune system working. What are the signs of a weak immune system? Infections, colds, viruses, that type of thing. What time of day is your immune system the strongest? Usually at night while you're sleeping. Why am I sick so often? You've got an immune problem. You need to work on it. How do I balance an overactive immune system? We kind of went over that. You know, take care of yourself, your habits, what you do. Come see us. Take quercetin, that type of thing. If you can't sleep, try our sleep products. Drink good water. Don't smoke. Don't overeat. Overeat reduces your immune system. When you pile in, you know, when you
eat like people did 1,000 years ago.
yes, don't overeat. It taxes your immune system. We went over the boosters, and there's some additional things there. You might want to talk to me privately about some of these things like fish oil, turmeric, you know, how that can help you, that type of thing. As I say, I'm not going anywhere. Be glad to answer your questions. Hopefully you're not taking some of these immune suppressing drugs. There's one person here that might be. And I say thank you, and we'll answer any questions for you. And thank you for coming.
What about cholesterol drugs? Do they do bad things to your system?
Well, cholesterol drugs don't hurt your immune system as badly as a lot of other things.
Right.
And you can walk away from a cholesterol lowering drug without your cholesterol rebounding or shooting through the roof, which you can't say for a lot of pharmaceutical products. Some worse than others. Cholesterol lowering drugs don't have a lot of rebound. Now somebody might say, well, if my cholesterol goes up 50 points, isn't that dangerous? Well, maybe, not necessarily. You were asking about eating before you sleep. You should leave at least 3 or 4 hours before you sleep, because laying down with your stomach full, although the food might digest, you know, you've got a big load of food in a horizontal position. If you've got reflux, if you've got a hiatal hernia, it's always not going to be a good thing. And for your immune system, you know, that's when you repair at night. You don't want to be eating when you go to bed. Also, eating or going to bed with a full stomach usually doesn't help your sleep hygiene. It just doesn't turn out as well for most people. So eating before too close to sleep time is not a good thing.